Great. So,
And
there are
yourself.
persons, yeah, I'm doing well too. There are people who have asked the question, why should I get counted? They say, well, they don't know why they should be counted because the last time they counted, they haven't really seen anything that was done with that particular count. Why is it important for everyone to be counted in this census?
Your line sounds faint.
Can you hear me? Is it better now?
Okay, okay, okay. It's better now.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I was asking you that, there are some persons who are complaining. They say, well, they don't want to be part of this census. They've asked the question, why should they be counted? What's the importance of this census? And I'm asking you, why should I get counted? What's the importance?
Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you also for the opportunity given to us as a service. And so, yes, the census is so important for us as a country. As you are very much aware, the census is done every 10 years, and this is new to us. Censuses undertaken in the country goes way back in 1891. And so, as you rightly pointed out, the last one was in 2010. And we usually have to do this to update the indicators that were measured in the last census. And so um, the rationale behind doing this census 2021 census is to update the indicators that were measured in 2010. Basically, the census is the only activity that provides information on every single Ghanaian within the society.
Okay.
Um, every single person who is found on the soil of Ghana, whether you're a Ghanaian or non-Ghanaian. We within the censuses also undertake some other research activities, and those don't take care of every single person. And so the SDG goal says that everyone counts. And so we are not leaving anyone behind, and that is why it is important that every single individual, once you are found on the soil of Ghana, should take part of the census. And as I said, the census information will provide essential information on the people who reside in Ghana. And so we are talking about the spatial distribution of the people. How many people are we distribution? And for that matter, we are able to determine how many children there are within the society, how many are within the youthful group, how many are the aged, what is the sex structure, how many males are there, how many females are there, and we are also talking about other social and economic and housing characteristics that will help us to develop the country. And so the census data, I must say, is so resourceful, and so it will give us a lot of information to help us plan for our development and also take key decisions within the country.
Okay. So realize that the data collection is for the census in two phases, listing and enumeration, and listing of structures began on the 13th of June. What exactly is the listing of structures and what does it entail?
Okay, thank you very much. So, as you rightly pointed out, the census full data collection is in two parts. The first part is the listing of structures, and the second part is the enumeration of the population and households within these structures. And so the listing of structures apparently is giving us the basis for the actual full data collection. So what we are doing in terms of the listing is to identify every single structure that we find on the soil of Ghana. And so we are talking about makeshift structures such as containers, such as kiosks, such as tents, such as the buildings that we live in, and so on and so forth. And we do so by, first of all, giving every single structure a unique serial number. And so you find that in your neighborhood, we have written on your wall a number that precedes with 2021 PHC. Okay. And then some other number, 7-digit number, also is added onto that. And so this is a unique number that we are giving to each of the structures, and that tells us that we have identified your structure, and then we go in there to take some basic information. First of all, we take the GPS coordinates of the structure, we will take the address of the structure, and then we are looking at the level of completion of that structure. We, for this census, are identifying all structures that are above window level. And so once the structure at the window level or higher is identified, we give it that unique number that I talked about. Okay. And then we go in there, if there are people in there, to take basic information as to the number of households that we identify within the structure, and we get an estimate of the population within that. We also get a use to which the structure is put, and then also trying to get some basic characteristics of or some information about the facilities that we find in this area. And we're also looking at whether there's a toilet facility within the structure that we have identified. The Ministry of Water and Sanitation is interested in getting to know whether there's a toilet facility within the dwellings where we live. And so it is so important for the ministry to plan with.
Great. So I realize that, well, you said that started on the 13th. Now, if my house is not listed or my structure is not listed, what should I do?
Okay. So thank you very much. So there are two ways by which this can, sometimes people perceive this as a non-listing of the structure. When they don't see the chalk written on the wall, then they conclude that the structure hasn't been listed. So it could be that, yes, it is true, it hasn't been listed. And it could also be that the structure has been listed, except that you don't find the number there. A number of factors could account for this. Sometimes you find even that somebody has rubbed off the number that was written on the wall. Mm-hmm. Or it could be that where it was written, it rained the following day and it's been rubbed off and that kind of. And so, as I said, we will enter into the structure and get this basic information. Okay. So usually one person within the household will give us this information. And therefore, other members of the household may not be even aware of the fact that somebody has been there to take this information. So what we do is that, or what we ask the public to do, is to consult with each other in terms of the members of the household to find out whether somebody has been there. Or you look at your neighborhood and see whether some numbers are there. That may give you a certain indication that there's somebody who has been around. Okay. But if you are so convinced that there's no chalk, or there's even a chalk, but nobody has asked these basic questions that I talked about, then we are saying that you consult Tascar Service. We have put out certain numbers in the public domain. If you permit me, I'll put them up again.
Yes, you can put them out
for people to consult and so that we will get back to our field officers to make sure that they do so.
Great. Yes, I mean, you put the numbers out finally when we are done. But I also know that the enumeration, is starting next week. What does that entail?
Okay. So as the government statistician put it up, we are about 70% as at yesterday in terms of all the structures that have been listed. And so in a few days ahead, we hope to complete with the listing exercise. And then 27th night is our census night. And so what we are heading towards is that a day after the census night is when we will begin to enumerate all households and institutional population within the country. So there's this misconception that people will be counted on the 27th June 2021, which is the census night. And so I want to take the opportunity to say that the census night is not when we are enumerating all the population in Ghana. Yes, a few groups of people will be enumerated on that night, and these are the floating population and people who are homeless. And then also the third group will be those who will spend the census night in hotels. Apart from this group of people, all other groups, people who will spend the census night, that is the night of 27 June 2021, will have their households enumerated starting 28th of June up to the 11th of July.
Okay.
And so these enumerators and supervisors who we have trained will visit homes and would come to these same people that we listed during the listing period, and then ask them detailed questions about the people within the households.
Okay, we'll get to the questions, the detailed questions shortly, but let me say that if you just joined us, we're speaking to Mr. Usukeja, who is the chief census methodologist, helping us understand the whole processes about the 2021 census. And so, if you just join us, particularly for those of us listening in Kumasi on Love FM, welcome. And you can also, join the conversation on Facebook by watching us on our Facebook page, Joy 99.7 FM. Same with YouTube, Joy 99.7 FM. Then you get to ask your questions, and we certainly put those questions to Mr. Usukeja. So, what questions should I expect to be asked when the enumerators get to my home?
Thank you very much. So, the questions have been grouped into about 13 thematic areas. And so, first of all, we are asking questions around what we call socio-demographic characteristics to be able to identify who we are, as I talking about the age, the sex, marital status, nationality. As I indicated earlier, we are not only enumerating Ghanaians. We are looking at all persons irrespective of nationality and religious affiliation or ethnic groupings. We are enumerate all persons, provided you spend the census night in Ghana. And so we are asking about these demographic characteristics. So the age, the sex, marital status, nationality, ethnic group that you belong, religious group that you belong, and stuff like that. And then moving away from socio-demographic characteristics, we also are asking questions on emigration. Okay. So people who were part of our household but for some reasons have gone to live outside Ghana. So provided this person that we talk about was part of our household but now lives outside the boundary of Ghana, we'll ask some basic questions about this person. Okay. And then we are talking about literacy and education questions. So we asking questions around the language that people are able to read and write. And so, again, we are not limiting ourselves to English language, okay, but we are looking at all languages that people declare that they are able to read and write. And then educational qualification of members of the household. And so here we are able to determine whether a household member has ever been to school. You have those who are already in school, and so we get to know what level of schooling this person is. And then we moving away from educational questions, we also have questions on ICT. Remember, this is also something that as a country we are seriously looking at. So ownership of ICT devices and usage of these devices, internet, using internet is also important for us to know, and so we are asking these questions. And then use of mobile money transfers and helping us to move on as a country has also become so important, and so we are asking questions about that. And then moving away from ICT, there's also a question on difficulties in performing activities. And so we're looking at people who, for some reasons, have difficulties in seeing, difficulties in walking, difficulties in hearing, and that kind of challenges that members of the household may have. And here we are not looking at just the difficulty, but we are also interested in the extent of difficulty. Some people may not, for instance, be able to hear at all when you speak. Some people may not be able to speak at all. Others may have, some little challenge and so on and so forth. So we are able to determine the extent of difficulty that people may have. And so at the end of the day, we are able to measure the disability levels within the society. Then we also have questions on economic activity. And so here we are able to determine of the population what proportion are working. And for these people who are working, we want to know what kind of work they are doing and the characteristics of this work. And we are even able to measure the underemployment rate, because we are also asking about the time that each of these persons, usually would commit to doing this activity. And so, yes, the person may be employed, but may be underemployed. And so we need to get some of these details to help policy decision making. And then we are also able to determine the unemployment rate to help, again, decision making around what as a country we should do to even improve employment. And then moving away from employment or economic activity questions, we also have questions around fertility and child survivor.
What are
so
those
here
questions?
We're talking about. Sorry.
Yes, I'm listening. I was asking, what are those questions?
Okay. So yes. So fertility and child survivor is basically talking about. So here we are limiting it to females who are 12 years and older. And so for this group of people, we are asking them how many children they have ever given birth to in their lifetime, and trying to find out whether all of them are alive. And for those who are not alive, we also get to know that. And so that is the survival status I talk about. And so and then there's also mortality questions, people who were once members of our household, but in the last 12 months passed on. And so with the immigration question, the fertility questions, and the mortality questions, we are able to use these three variables to project our populations. Remember, in between censuses, statistical service is able to project our population to say that even though this year we are not conducting the census, but our population is around this figure. These are the three variables that help us to enable us to do that.
Great.
And then moving away from this, we also have questions on housing and sanitation. So on housing, the question that we are asking basically is helping us to get to know the quality of the structures that we have. Remember, I said we were listing all structures, tents, kiosks, containers, and all buildings, whether it's made of mud or bricks. And so we are asking about what material has been used for the construction of the wall, what construction has been used to construct the floor, then the roofing material. So then we are able to get to know the quality of the structure. And then also we want to know the facilities that we find in there, the source of lighting, whether there's the toilet facility that the household uses. We're also asking about the source of water for drinking and source of water for other things that we do within the house. If there's a bathing facility available, or what is it that the household uses? These are some of the questions that we are asking around the housing question.
Great.
And then there's also sanitation question, and so how we dispose of we dispose of rubbish, whether we dump it somewhere, whether it's when we are done, it's collected by a waste management source or how.
Okay.
And then also as I indicated, the toilet facility that you use. From that question, we are able to determine households that do not have any toilet facility at all. And so these are some of the questions that we are asking on the census instrument.
Great. So let's put out the numbers now. Yes, the numbers, so that if anybody has further questions, I'm sure the person can reach you and have all those questions answered.
Okay, so there's a toll-free number, which is 0800 426 426. 0800 426 426. We also have 0591 476 893. 0591 476 893. And there's also another one, 0591 476 895. 0591 476 495. So these are numbers that are being managed by our call center agents.
Okay.
And if for some reason your structure has been listed, or even during the enumeration, you get to know that, or you are convinced that you haven't been enumerated, or if there's any issue around the census that you want the management of the census to get to know, you can get to these numbers, and our call agents would get to know the issues and get back to us for resolution.
Mr. Usukeja, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're waiting patiently for the listing to continue and the enumeration to begin on the 28th of June. Thank you very much for joining us. We're grateful.
I'm also grateful for the opportunity. And going forward, as was indicated, we are about 70% through the listing. And the second phase is also ahead of us, starting 28th, for a 2-week period. And we want to continue to appeal to the general public to support us to succeed as a country getting the right data for Mother Ghana. We thank you so much, and we are very much grateful.
Right, we are also very grateful to you for joining us this morning. Still live right here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. Still to come this morning, we're having that all-important conversation. We've seen the police arrest some 215 suspected criminals. Is that enough? Is that the kind of response you'd expect from the police? And why these areas? Should that be sustained? There's a whole talk about being in a state of insecurity. The police says, no, we are not in a state of insecurity. But the question really is, how do you measure the state of insecurity? Stay with us. We're right back.
Hello, welcome to the Joy Business Minute. It is brought to you by Consolidated Bank Ghana. We stand with you. The Bank of Ghana is warning of severe sanctions and fines against banks and other financial institutions that fail to comply with recent directive on charges and fees on banking transactions. The cost of living is expected to increase further in the coming weeks. It follows a more than 3% hike in fuel prices